Good morning, everyone. How are you? Karyn Medeiros here, founder of The Makeup Nerd and creator of a kick-ass lifestyle blog over at KarynMedeiros.com. So today we're going to be really short. I know, mine are never short. But I am kicking off a series this week, and we're going to call it Flawless Face Series. So for the next 5 days, I believe, I am going to we're going to talk about how to get a flawless face, and we're going to talk about, what goes on first, foundation or concealer. We're going to talk about how to even apply it, what tools to apply, what tools are the right tools, what tools are not the right tools. We are going to, I have my list right here. We're going to talk about the shades. We're going to talk about how many shades you should actually own. You should not only own one shade. We're going to talk about how to pick your correct shade. We're going to talk about how to actually test it. So this week we're going to do Flawless Face Series. So I have something scheduled for Monday to Friday. Monday to Friday, we're going to talk about live. So if you can't watch me live, make sure you hop on the replay if you can. And don't forget, bottom left-hand corner, click share. Once you've shared, you're entered in to win that Lang hair straightener, which we're gonna give away next week. All right? Good morning, everyone. Hi, Crystal. Hi, Jessica. Hey, Eartha. Hey, Tammy. Hey, Kelsey. All right, so I am just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go share this real quick to my personal wall. And then we're gonna get started. This one is gonna be a quick one. Let me just post this. I can't talk and I'm not a good multitasker. I'm like a squirrel. Oh, timeline, done. All right, let's put this away. Going on. Thank you for sharing, Eartha. I appreciate it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about foundation or concealer. What goes on first? So first things first is it's makeup. So it really doesn't matter. Like nothing is wrong. Okay, nothing is wrong. You apply your makeup the way that you want to apply your makeup. But I'm going to share some tips that may work a little bit better. All right, it's makeup. You can't fuck up, okay? Thanks for sharing, Leslie. Thanks for sharing, Crystal. Okay, so what goes on first? What do you think? What do you think goes on first, foundation or concealer? So I do both. I put my foundation on sometimes first, and then I put my concealer on. So I was doing some research, which that's what I do. And I found that you should probably put on foundation first. And the reason is because concealer is so thick. Usually concealer is so thick. So when you put on concealer, which is already thick, and then you go on and you put on a foundation, it usually gets really thick. Usually you put concealer underneath your eyes, and then you'll put it anywhere where you have maybe any blemishes that you want to cover, right? So when you put that foundation over top, it usually gets cakey. So I have been reversing it, and I've been putting on my foundation first, and then I've been putting on my concealer. I just usually put concealer on underneath my eyes, and I find that it's actually not as cakey. Now, mind you, I use the Unique foundation, liquid foundation. So this foundation is already really, really lightweight. So when I put on my concealer underneath first, and then I put this on, it doesn't go cakey because of the lightweight. But there's foundation out there that is a little thick. That is a really, really full coverage. All right. Sometimes I mix mine together too, Jessica. All right, so I'm gonna say try your foundation, putting on your foundation first and then your concealer, okay? And I have a few concealer tips for you. I have 3 concealer tips for you. I've already kind of shared these with you before, but so if your concealer, so I use the Perfecting Touch, Skin Perfecting Touch Concealer by Unique. And it's thick. It's concealer. I believe that it's supposed to be thick. So there's a couple ways that you can thin it out so it's not cakey, at least underneath your eyes, or even if you mix it together, it's not cakey. So I usually just put foundation underneath my eyes, and I will mix this with a tad of primer, okay? A little tab of primer. Now I'm talking like half of this, even less, a quarter. I'm gonna say a quarter of this circle. That's all that I use. That's all that I use. So I squeeze a little bit on your finger, and then I squeeze a quarter of concealer. You don't need a lot of concealer. If it's a good concealer, you do not need a lot of it, okay? So then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna rub it in. So that is gonna thin out your concealer. For me, it still gives me the coverage. It just thins it out. I'm 42. So I have fine lines and wrinkles underneath my eyes. And when I use just concealer by itself or a lot of concealer, it tends to get cakey under here. And it sits into the fine lines and you can see, and I don't want that. So that is tip number one, mix primer with it, especially if you're a little bit older, okay? Number two is you want to warm up the concealer. So you're going to do this also when you have your primer. So say you have your primer on there with a little bit of concealer, you're going to rub your fingers together, okay? So I put a little bit and I rub. Thanks for sharing, Amy. Okay, hey Nicola, you're going to rub your fingers together for, I don't know, like 5 seconds. You're going to make the concealer warm. So when your concealer is warm, it blends in, especially underneath your eyes, so much smoother, and it also thins it out. So even if you didn't have, even if you didn't put a little bit of primer on there, it's still going to thin that that concealer out, and then it's not going to be so cakey underneath the eyes. Okay. And then tip number three with your concealer is you should always set it with setting powder, okay? With setting powder. So I use this setting powder, and I find that, so I use setting powder today, and if you follow me, you'll know that if I'm sitting here doing my video, most of the time I will have really bad bags underneath my eyes. I mean, you can still see them for sure, but they are not as prominent as they usually are. And I find that when I set with setting powder underneath the concealer, it, again, doesn't make it as cakey. Setting powder is translucent, so it's not like you're setting, or you're not putting on another powder, another cakey powder. Does that make sense? So that's it. That is today's day one of Flawless Face series. So don't forget, bottom left-hand corner, if you click share, you're entered in to win this. You get a ballot. So tomorrow, what are we going to do tomorrow? So tomorrow so today was foundation or concealer. So again, try it any way that you want. It's makeup. It works either way, but sometimes when you switch things up, it works a little bit different. So I would suggest putting foundation on first and then your concealer because of the reasons that we talked about. Tomorrow, we are going to talk about how to apply your foundation for the right coverage. So this is, do you apply your foundation using a beauty blender, a sponge? That's kind of the same thing. A beauty blender, a brush, your fingers. All of you guys, I know, use different techniques, but what's the best technique to get the right coverage for you, right? Because we all need different coverages. So stay tuned tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be on my personal wall. So if you, which I will share it to my business page as well. But if you feel free to follow me over on my personal wall as well, it's Karyn Melko/Medeiros. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. All right, everyone, have a fabulous day. It's Monday. It's my favorite day of the week. The kids are they're at their Vervos. Joe's working. He's just finishing up his job today, and then he's home for a couple weeks before he starts his next big job. So today is my day. Mondays are my day. I get to sit in my office and I get to plan my week, and I love it. I love it. All right, everyone, have a good day. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.